Baldurs Gate 3 is a resounding success. I'm sure that by now most people have seen the over 800,000 peak concurrent players on Steam. That is a successful game. Beyond that, it has over 55 million hours played, so that indicates to me that people are not only buying and playing the game, but a lot of people are sinking a lot of time into it. And so the conversation on everybody's lips is, how will this impact the industry? Is this going to have a positive effect in showing that we, the gamers, are voting with our wallets for single-player experiences that are free of predatory microtransactions, season passes, and just further monetization? Now, the answer to that question is that yes. Anything that is as big a success as this is going to have some sort of impact in the way that the corporate suits and the developers view their upcoming projects. But it's a lot more complicated than that, and I kind of want to get into it. Firstly, it's important to remember that Larian is an independent studio. This is an indie game. It's crazy to think about because it's a 450-person studio, but they don't rely on a publisher. They're not a studio under one of these big umbrellas like Ubisoft or EA or Activision. And they are, of course, self-publishing the game, including on consoles. But that is the key here. A lot of industry trends are going to be decided not by PC gamers, which, I mean, yes, we are very important. We are a growing market even today, despite prices and all of the weird stuff going on with building a PC or buying a PC and their prices. But consoles are the ones that really dictate where the money goes. So really, although this event is going to have an impact by itself, the way that it has a really big impact is if this success can be translated into the consoles. Now, I think all of this positive press, word of mouth, just general buzz around Baldur's Gate 3, including videos like this one, are going to help people on consoles become interested in the game and hopefully make it a success. We've already seen a lot of people mentioning that they've seen it in the top 3 of the bestsellers on the PlayStation Store, and that is fantastic, because if it can make a big splash on consoles, that is where we will truly feel the impact of a game like this down the road. Hopefully, the launch on PlayStation 5 in September is a tremendous success because the game deserves it. It's amazing, but also just because it's free of all those predatory microtransactions. I hope they don't take too long with the development of the Xbox version so that it can kind of still cash in on the thunder that the game has at the moment. But we don't know too much about that. They've only said that they hope to tell us something before the end of the year, and that Microsoft has sent people to work with Larian to get the co-op running on the Xbox Series S, which seems to be the hang-up at the moment. These are their words, not mine. If we can see Baldur's Gate 3 have success on consoles, I think that it will be hard to ignore and the impact will be felt faster, but there definitely will be an impact. I also think it's very likely because the game functions really well as a console game. I've been playing a lot of my playthrough on a controller just for the fun of it, just to see how it goes. And even though it's not the final version of the controls, they've said that they will continue to monitor and test how people do it on PC and change it up until the launch of the PS5 version. The game plays perfectly fine on controller. It might be a little dense or have a learning curve to it, but I think most console gamers will be able to adjust easily. I say this as a former console-only gamer many years ago. Not only that, but the isometric perspective already kind of got crushed into console players this year with Diablo 4, and Baldur's Gate 3 benefits from just zooming that camera in and enjoying the spaces. It's a beautiful game. So console gamers will get to enjoy that right off the bat. And as a PC gamer, I appreciate just grabbing my controller at any moment and just walking through the world feeling quite immersed. So I could definitely see it having a lot of success. We've seen other games like it have a lot of success, things like Mass Effect or Witcher 3. And I also have said this before, I think that not a lot of people will be afraid to jump into Baldur's Gate 3 just because of the 3 on the title, much like a lot of people jumped into The Witcher 3 without having played the first 2. But even if it does have a tremendous impact on consoles, is that enough to have an impact on the industry? Well, I think we've already been seeing trends change more into that single player lens. Maybe not as much as we would like, but it is still changing there. From Software and CD Projekt Red, despite, the launch of Cyberpunk and all of that, as well as even companies like Capcom with Monster Hunter not being predatory at all, or their Resident Evil remakes, and heck, Sony with their first-party offerings like The Last of Us, God of War, Spider-Man, Ratchet & Clank, Returnal. These are all microtransaction-free games where you just can enjoy the full game. They might have like a DLC costume or something, but nothing that is there to tempt you into spending money. And I think those games have equally as much impact as we keep moving forward into this. We can't forget that a lot of the biggest games this year are all completely single-player microtransaction-free experiences. Now, that doesn't mean live service games are going to disappear. Live service games are not going anywhere. The best that we can hope is that live service games finance the single-player games that we really enjoy. And that's because they just make too much money. And even if a single-player or multiplayer microtransaction-free game can recoup its cost and make a lot of money, that's not the maximum amount that it could make. The maximum amount comes from taking all of those whales' money. And that is what shareholders are interested in, is maximizing profit. So corporate greed wins again, but even EA, the king of dark microtransactions, put out a single-player game without any bullshit this year in Dead Space, which I don't think we talked enough about because the game is really good, but on top of that, it's EA, and they put out this game. It's incredible. Those are definitely tangible signs that things are changing, and Baldur's Gate 3's success, I think, will just push us more in that direction. We have to keep in mind that development of big AAA video games takes 3, 4, 5 years nowadays. So a lot of the decisions that are being made today because of the impact of games like Baldur's Gate 3 won't be felt for a long time. I doubt many companies are going to retrofit their game into being not filled with predatory microtransactions. They're just going to keep doing that, and their next projects are going to avoid them. Of course, this has nothing to do with the indie space and Nintendo. Nintendo's like the Apple of gaming. They just do whatever they want, and we can't forget that Nintendo is putting out a ton of games this year, and like usual, they don't have any strange microtransactions. We already had Zelda and Pikmin, and we're getting Super Mario RPG and Super Mario Wonder. It's, you know, Nintendo's their bubble. And indie games generally don't do it. There are a lot of indie games that want a piece of that more continued monetization stream. It always comes to mind is Temtem, which is like a Pokemon-like that always gets flack, or at least used to, I'm not sure today, for incorporating microtransactions or battle passes that included pay-to-win items in a Pokemon MMORPG type of thing. And I understand that you need money for continued development of your game, but guys, I mean, Deep Rock Galactic doesn't need it, so why would you? I don't get it. But that just shows you the power of that revenue stream, just constant money pumping in, let's go, and that's what they're all chasing. Not only that, we have a ton of games coming out for the rest of the year that are, if not microtransaction free, very light. You know, maybe they have DLC costumes and that sort of thing. We have things like Lies of P, Atlas Fallen, Lords of the Fallen, and of course, Starfield and Spider-Man. Now, Starfield is the only one that I'm hesitant to really confirm on. Microsoft seems to be wanting to play this role and be the goody two-shoes, and we live for Game Pass and we don't want to charge you extra for anything. But it's Bethesda and they invented horse armor, so I'm sure the game will be great. I just don't know if it's not going to have any of the modern predatory stuff in it. But I hope not. It doesn't really fit well with that sort of game at all. But if we're already starting to see some of the industry change, and we're seeing others like Nintendo refuse to accept the new standard, every success like Baldur's Gate 3 is just proving what we gamers want, and hopefully it's something that we continue to see investment in. Now, I'm sorry for all of you who made it up until here in the video. I like live service games. I think it's great that multiplayer games have constant incentives to keep you playing and new content to keep them fresh, because it's a better way of enjoying an experience that you love, and very frequently the cost is either very, very low or it just pays for itself with things like Fortnite and for people who are invested in that. And giving the developers some money for a costume is something that is completely up to you. Sure, there's a lot of predatory stuff that goes around it and manipulating children and things like that, especially the FIFA stuff, but I don't hate them. I don't want them to disappear. I think it's a good business model for companies, and it's good on consumers as well, and as long as it finances meaningful, important things that the gamers that play the game are going to enjoy. So that's not bad. I just think that the industry needs to refocus and is refocusing on putting out quality single-player experiences that everybody can enjoy without being forced to be online, without having stupid DRM, without requiring anything stupid, just something that is timeless and enjoyable. And if we can head back in that direction, which Baldur's Gate 3 is definitely championing, we're already in one of the greatest moments to be a gamer. This is a spectacular year, but it might get even better down the line, and I can't wait. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what is the worst microtransaction-filled game you've ever seen. I've got more Baldur's Gate 3 guides coming up real soon, as well as coverage for all of the big upcoming games, so make sure to subscribe if you're excited for that. I've been Mug Thief, and I will see you on the internet.